Hey team, in this video I'm going to talk about how to create quality assurance checklists for your business to make sure that the jobs out on site, out in the field, get done the right way and get done correctly. It's super important that they are, because your profitability and everything depends on doing the job right and doing it right the first time. So quality assurance checklists are a super important part of the systems and processes in your business. And you need to build them into your business to ensure that every part of the job that needs to be done is done, and that it's checked and it's done right. So going to save you a lot of time and heartache if you get this right. Now we have some examples of quality assurance checklists. I'd love you to grab a copy. It'll give you a real head start on what you need to do in your operation. All you need to do is just comment checklist in the comments, or if you're watching this later, just click the download button and we'll boost it straight out to you. So checklists sounds a bit daunting, but it's actually pretty easy to put together. And man, if you put the effort into this, your future self is gonna thank you massively. So let's jump in, and I just want to talk first about what happens if you don't have a good quality assurance process, or you don't have quality assurance checklists. And some of this stuff you might be experiencing right now. First thing is you're going to get some massive frustrations, and what you find is that lots of stuff on the job, out in the field on site, gets missed or forgotten. So parts of the job maybe aren't done quite right, or maybe the team, or even you, maybe if you're under the pump, forget to do something that actually means it's not finished, and that creates some problems. Hey, it might be something as simple as remembering to test the plumbing systems. You need to flush the water closet or the toilet at least 3 times just to make sure everything's running properly. If you forget to do that, you may not pick up a problem. It could be just something small like that, which is actually quite big. What happens if you miss or forget stuff? You get callbacks. And callbacks are absolute killer, for your profitability. As a business owner, I'm sure they do your head in. Look, it's bad enough if you make a mess and have to go fix it up, but it hurts a lot more when your team do it and they've got to go and fix stuff up. Particularly if stuff gets forgotten as well. So that's important. And what happens when you have callbacks and mistakes? You burn money. So the way to make money is through the labor mainly, efficient use of your labor. And if you've got to keep going back, you're basically spending time on the job that you didn't need to. So that's a cost. Even worse, and this is the big one, even worse is that time that you've got to go back and fix a job is time you can't bill out on another job. So the opportunity cost is enormous, and that hurts, and you probably cannot underestimate how much that affects your profitability. That's where the real killer with callbacks are. It's not the cost so much as having to go back. It's actually the lost opportunities to do other work. That's a big cost. So we want to avoid that at all costs. Plus, you're going to look bad in front of your clients. Nobody wants to look bad when you've got to go back and fix stuff up. Might damage a relationship. Maybe they don't want to use you anymore. Super frustrating. Now, if you get this right, if you've got a good system for checking jobs, what do you want? Well, first thing is you want it done once and done right. So get it done the first time, because stuff is not getting missed or forgotten. Hey, it might even be something as simple as tidying up. If that's written down, people remember to do it, and it happens. Could be a bunch of simple stuff. Next thing is confidence. Now, you're going to build confidence in your team's ability to do the job properly if you've got the right checklists in place, because their performance will improve. It's going to take care of, I'm not going to say it's going to take care of 100% of the problems, but I reckon 98% of them. A whole bunch of problems, just people forgetting stuff or missing stuff, is going to disappear when it's written down, and when we hold someone responsible for making sure the checklists are done. So confidence is huge. Think about the fact that you can actually get away for a break, maybe a bit of a holiday, knowing the team's not going to make a mess of things. And you're definitely going to make more cash and profit, 100%, because productivity, profitability comes from productivity, the efficiency of your team, your blokes getting through the work. Actually, here's something that's important. If you have great quality assurance processes, you might actually find that you're more productive and efficient than your competitors, You might even be able to price jobs for the same or even slightly less, but make more money because you don't make mistakes, and mistakes cost you big time. So that's one thing. Plus the client's going to love you. So, you're going to generate more referral business, maybe more work from them, and you're not losing time on rework, so which means you can get through more work, so you don't have that opportunity cost, that killer cost of not being able to get through as many jobs because you go fix the ones you should have already done, but you're not getting paid anymore for. So it's super important to get this right. Now, we've got a checklist, an example of quality assurance checklists. I reckon you should just grab a copy. Just write checklist in the comments, or if you're watching this later, checking it out, click the download button and we'll boost it straight out to you. That'll give you a good head start on what to do. But there are a few things that you want to bear in mind when you do this process, because it's a little bit more than just putting the checklist together. That's like where the rubber meets the road, but there's a bit of thinking behind it that I think is going to help you get the most juice out of this checklist process. So the first thing is you got to write it down. This is a massive, this is like a principle of building systems and processes into your business. This is a key system, and it ain't a system if it ain't written down. So we want to get all that goodness out of your head, out of your team's head, and get all the key parts of a project. Could be any project, could be parts of a project, could be your underfloor, your pre-line, your fit off, or your first fix, second fix, whatever you call it. It depends where you are. You're going to call it different things. Doesn't matter. Concept's the same, right? House is a house, or project is a project. So the whole point is to get it out of your head and get it on paper so other people can follow it. So we've got to write it down, and we've got to get all those nitty-gritty details, all those little things that through experience need to be done. Write them on paper so everyone else in your team can follow it. So that's the first thing. Second thing is once you've got it on paper, you've got to have some follow through. So it's not good enough just to write a checklist. You can't just whip up a checklist and then expect all the problems to go away, because it doesn't work like that. What you've actually got to do is create a system around using it. So that requires follow through. So here's the key thing. Someone on the job or out in the field who's doing the project needs to be responsible for completing the checklist, which means they're responsible for checking that the stuff is done. And our job as the owner of the business is to hold that person responsible. So for instance, if you've got some tradespeople or technicians and maybe they have an apprentice working with them, or a junior or a journeyman, then the senior person on site will be responsible for the checklist. That means they need to check that the other person has done the stuff that's on the checklist. It's kind of like their head on the block. So that's important. Second thing is, hey, maybe you're still doing a lot of the jobs. That's fine, no problem. Then you're responsible for completing the checklist. And you might say, well, look, I've done this like 100 times or 1,000 times. Why do I need a checklist? Well, here's the thing. I'm picking, if you're super busy, you forget stuff. And I'm sure you've been under the pump answering phone calls at the same time as trying to do the work and dealing with other issues, suppliers, whatever it is. And something slipped through the cracks and you've had to go back and you're like, far out, how could I forget that? Well, if you've got a checklist, it takes a bit of pressure off your own brain. You can just check it off and, oh, that's right, I need to, whatever it is, I need to check that off and make sure it's done. So that's important. We've got to have the follow through. We've got to have a system to make sure that it actually gets done. Last thing, and this is a biggie. And you're probably thinking right now, that's awesome, Tony. Checklists sound great, but I'm under the pump. How am I actually going to get this done? I don't have enough time to do everything I need to right now, let alone all the paperwork that I've got, invoices to do and prices to plan, plans to price, all that sort of stuff. Look, I get that and I understand that. And I'm not saying this is, going to take no time. It's going to take a little bit of effort, but there's a way to do it. If you've got a team, there's a way to do it that is going to be killer for you. And it's this: you want to edit the checklist, you don't want to author it. What do I mean by that? Get your team to have the first crack at the checklist. So download the examples, show it to them, and get them to write it first, put all the points down, and then you can go through and author it. Now, that is way easier than having to think of it all from scratch. So you're going to get the best thinking of your team. Guess what? It's going to get them involved as well. So if they're involved in something, that's going to breed their commitment to doing it. They're going to feel like they're part of the process, which is awesome. and then you can sit down with them and just add in your 2 cents worth, all your experience to make sure everything's covered off. So they draft it up using the template, and then you just go through and make sure that it's tickety-boo, that it's all complete. And then let them test it out, see if there's any other stuff that comes up. Because this stuff, it may need updating from time to time. Processes and systems and checklists, they're kind of like that. And one more thing, and this is really cool, the fact that we're in business in this day and age, is we can use technology. Now, we can write it down on paper, which is cool, and the examples that you can download are paper-based, that's fine, but you can actually put these into your jobbing software, your job management system. You can create e-forms or forms and get them to be checked off online. So you've actually got an online record of this being done, which is kind of cool, right? Okay, so we've been talking about quality assurance today and making sure that your jobs get done first time and get done right, because it's going to save you a bunch of time, bunch of headache. You're not going to have to go back and fix up jobs, and look, the big problem with that is the opportunity cost. It's not even the cost of having to go back, it's the fact you can't use that time to go and do some other jobs. And that's the big cost right there. Now, if you get it right, you're going to definitely make more money, you'll be more productive, you're going to keep your clients happy, our team's probably going to be happier as well, they're going to feel more supported. And to get it done well, you've got to get the stuff written down. That's super important. It's got to be written down, get it out of your head so other people can follow it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you've got to follow through. So we've got to make someone accountable for actually making sure this is done. And that might be you if you're the main person on site. Ideally, as your business grows, you've got other people on site, out in the field doing the jobs, and it's their responsibility to make sure that gets checked off. If you've got a bigger operation, you'll have an operations manager, maybe 2, and a 4-person. They're going to make sure that all the people on site are doing this stuff. So part of their job is to check that the checklists have been done. And so it goes as your business grows. As I said, we've got some examples of these. You should grab a copy and you can use it for your business. Just write comment checklist in the comments or download it. Be checking this out later on. So I just want to spend a couple of minutes showing you the template that you can download, because I think you'll find this, I think you find it actually pretty darn juicy. And it's super, super simple. So in the example, we've got 2 types of checklists. We've got one for plumbing and one for electrical. Now, if your trade is different, that doesn't matter. You'll get the concept. It's actually pretty super simple once you get the idea. So for the plumbing checklist, we have a bunch of parts of the job. So this particular one is broken up in terms of there's an underfloor checklist, there's a pre-line checklist, keep going, there's a drainage checklist, there's a finish checklist, I think there's some for gas as well, gas pre-line, and a gas finish checklist, and then there's some examples for electrical as well. So you've got a pre-wire checklist, you may call that something different, first fix or second fix or whatever. We've got fit-off checklist, I think there's a finish checklist as well, if we keep, a final checklist, if we keep scrolling through. So I'm not going to go through all of them actually, and if we keep going through, right to the bottom, there's a templated checklist. So you can use that one to actually build your own, which is going to be super, super helpful for you. Now you'll just notice a few things here. It's got a date, it's got the project name, and it's got completed by. So that's really important. That's who's accountable, that's who's responsible. So they need to sign that off. Then each part of the checklist has a pass, fail, or not applicable, and a date when it was done. So you can go through and check it or cross it and put the date. And it can have everything in there, like first thing is revise the plan before starting work. Okay, pretty obvious, but make sure you do. How often do people not revise? Maybe the plan got changed a little bit as well. Check you have the right amount of fall in the foundations. Check all the pipes have been put in the right places. Stand back and look at the plan and see if the pipes line up with everything, so give it a check. Check all the pipes are lagged with the right lagging. Okay, pipes are taped off and 100mm PVC caps are on the toilets and the stacks. If there's an island sink, water pipes are in. So I'm not going to go through every one of them because that'd be a little bit boring, but you get the picture. So you can put everything there that needs to be there. Look, even things like make sure all the signs are on all sites. So that's a little bit of marketing stuff in there, a little bit of branding and stuff that you want to make sure that's happening. Check all measurements are correct. Stacks have 45-degree bends at the base and provisions for terminal vents. So It can all go in there. Even things like the TA inspection, the territorial authority, the council or local authority, make sure you're booking in the inspection. So like I said, I'm not going to go through all of those because it, there's a lot of detail in there, and we don't really need to go through all of that, right now. This is, actually a pretty simple process, which is going to save you a huge amount of time. Get all the ideas out of your head and out of your key tradespeople's head. Get them on paper. Create checklists for every job. It's going to, save you a world of hurt and rework, callbacks, mistakes, stuff being forgotten. Dramatically increase your profitability. It's going to make you look great in front of your clients. And actually, if you want to grow a business that gives you time, money, and freedom, this is a way you can, leverage your efforts and keep control of the business. And I know for a lot of you, when you're thinking of growing, the big stress is, hey, if I get more people and more jobs, this is going to get out of control. Well, this is a way you can keep control. So I'd love you to grab a copy. Just pop checklist in the comments, or if you're watching this later on, just click the download button and we'll send it straight out to you. I think it'll make massive difference in your business. So get those checklists happening. It's actually pretty simple, but amazingly powerful when you do. Take good care. We'll talk soon.